You can't fucking do this. You can't fucking do this. I'm the Homelander.
No, you ain't nothing. And this is for my nigga.
Never start a video about a superhero by looking at his powers. Although they made such a massive disservice to my boy Homelander here. And well, of course, as it is always said, if you want to know what makes a villain truly terrifying, you have to look at one thing he absolutely cannot face, his own reflection. Most people watch The Boys and think they're looking at a story about a bad guy, with lasers shooting out of his eyes, but if you look closely at what is actually happening on the screen, you will realize that Anthony Starr, oh god, this one heck of an actor is doing something much deeper than just playing the role. He's playing a man who's completely hollow on the inside, walking around in an indestructible shell. Today we are going to break down the exact psychological reasons why this character makes your skin crawl, including a hidden side to his relationship with Billy Butcher that completely changes how you view the entire show, from the start to the finish that we all know of. We are diving into the psychology of a madman, a self-portrayed hero, a man capable of greatness just as simply as slander it, a man with American cape on his back. Yes, you guessed it correctly, as it is not just obvious by the title, Homelander himself. It has been his chilling name since 2019 when he was first introduced to us. Well, of course the comic was around that time, but who knew about this character? Not me though. His role is constantly compared to the likes of Heath Ledger's Joker, yet the fact that he wins no major awards for the role does not ever define the actor or the character for me. And that's the brilliance behind the writing for me personally, as it always really does speak on the behalf of the actor more than it does for the character. He is menacing and ever so terrifying. The things he's willing to do and what he's capable of are the two of his best tools that he is constantly using against everyone around him. His unpredictable nature combined with his proclaimed God-given abilities are what made him the face of the Seven. Of course, he tried to keep it still for the most part among the misfits of Vought, but underneath the corporate paint, he was the one shining star above their lab, hovering with his umbilical cord still attached to him at his mother. Next to that horrible scene, doctors in his lab were constantly experimenting on him, trying to make him fly next to gods in their skies. But this was never enough for them anyway, so they kept on trying to torture him, to dismantle him, and to rip him piece by piece, to finalize his transformation into the monster we all know of. To really understand why this man is so broken, you have to go all the way back to the very beginning. Most children get a crib, a soft blanket, and a mother who holds them when they cry. But this kid got a cool, austere room with bright, blinding lights and a group of doctors staring him through a glass window. Well now, what else do you expect? He was a corporate science project before he was ever a person. There is a famous psychological idea, which is called attachment theory, which basically says that human babies need to bond with a loving parent to learn how to feel safe and how to care about other people. Very surface level. When you completely rip that away from a growing baby and replace it with painful lab experiments, something goes deeply, deeply wrong in the brain. Psychologists call this reactive attachment disorder. What a name! It means the person grows up totally unable to understand genuine love or empathy because they were never caught or comforted when they fell on the ground, when they bruised somewhere in their body. When you see him snap and do something horrible without even blinking, you're not just watching someone who chose to be evil this time, you're looking at a direct result of a corporate experiment that succeeded in creating a god. Supposedly a god, because this one really does feel like he is undermining everything that was ever like God given to someone. They wanted a savior, but their methods ensured they built a man who can never compare himself to the likes of anyone. Because in his eyes he was above all rules. But here's where things get really weird. Despite everything that was done to him, he genuinely believes he's a good guy from the inside out. In his mind, in his corrupt mind, he's a lonely king carrying the entire weight of his world on his back, surrounded by weak, ungrateful little ants. He looks at regular folks like us and he be like, with our disease and sicknesses, small problems and our sense of disgust, he hates them. every little thing about us, our nonsensical human needs and our pretentious behavior on the daily. We're just living our lives, making them second guess every single move people make and how they will possibly react to them. This brings us to a massive problem that he faces every single day, and it is the challenge that almost destroys him from the inside out. Well, in my opinion, it is the one thing that really did destroy him by the end of the story. He has all the power in the universe, but he's completely addicted to the public approval. He's a guy who can wipe out an entire city in seconds, yet he will completely lose his mind if his social media popularity ratings drop by a few points. Ultimately, his drive and what he's lacking is love in his purest form, one that can never be given to him, which means it can later be weaponized against him and his indestructible heart, one that he cries about every single night before he goes to sleep. This creates a brutal mental trap. Because he never received real love from a parent, he tries to fill that empty space in his heart with cheers of millions of strangers. The applause of the crowd is like drug to him. He cannot simply destroy the world because if everyone are dead, there is nobody left to look up to him and to tell him how perfect he is, how precious he is. He keeps humanity alive because he needs our praise to feel like he actually exists, or if he's actually something of importance. The crowd is his replacement mother in actuality, which is a really sad side to his story. This deep insecurity is exactly how he ended up creating his worst nightmare in Billy Butcher. Billy Butcher to him was like the introduction of something completely new, something fresh, the kind of man like no other. He was angry, vengeful, most of all lost. And the crazy part is Homelander is the sole reason Billy Butcher was ever created in the first place. Think about the massive difference between these two guys. One has every power imaginable, but has never felt a single second of real love. The other is just a normal, fragile human being, but unlike the god in the cape, Billy had all the love in the world. He had his Becca. By taking her away for good, Homelander ensured that someone else would suffer his demise as well. He forced Butcher to a life, to an empty existence, shallow existence where even something as simple as unconditional love feels like a distant fantasy. By taking everything away that mattered to his enemy, he accidentally created the one person alive who is completely unafraid of him. Everyone else smiles, trembles, and says exactly what he wants to hear to keep their heads attached to their necks. But his rival looks a god dead in the eye and just spits on the floor and says, "Fuck you anyway." It is a beautiful piece of character writing, in which, in my opinion, is one of the reasons why I fell in love with this show in the first place, because of these two under dynamics. Because it shows that by trying to dominate everyone, he ended up engineering the one force that can actually break his psychological armor. Now the two are pinned against one and the other, blood and bone until the absolute end. And yes, the scorched carpet. Yes, I know. It's been everywhere since the day the final came out. Alright, well, we will not discuss this. This is a story for another day, and I will break it down exactly to the core of it and the biggest of problems from that one exact scene. As time goes on, we are starting to see him slowly snap the corporate chains that used to hold him back. The business executives and the marketing teams are completely losing control of him, and we are left watching a terrifying transition. He's moving past the point of wanting people to like him, and he's stepping into a dark place where he realizes that fear works just as well as love. The show never fully spells out where his wildest actions are a part of a massive calculated plan, or if we are just watching an unhinged mind completely unravel in front of us. The show never really tells us if his actions were fully intentional, because if they were, it would mean the entire show is built entirely upon Homelander's ego, making us watch in amusement while mere humans struggle and fail to stop him from his dream to ascend to true godhood. If it is the plan, and if it was the plan all along, the entire world is trapped in his game. If he is just unraveling, he is considered an animal with nuclear abilities, just waiting for the world to disappoint him one last time so he can justify burning everything to the ash. Oh god, I really do wish we got that in the show. But unfortunately, everything about the final was horrible. God, I just don't know how to put it into words because of how horrible it was, because of how much anticipation we had for every kind of possibility that could occur on the show, but unfortunately what we've been given is just really, and I really mean it, a really bad fighting scene with Bully Butcher and Homelander. We've been given better one in season 3. For God's sake, but let's get into it, alright. When you strip away the superhero costume and the terrifying power, you're left with a deeply sad, broken child who's entirely isolated at the top of a mountain. He has no real friends, no equals, and no understanding of what it means to be human. Proving that the most dangerous monster is not the one who hates us for what we are, but it is the one who desperately wants us to love him, and this is exactly what this character was to me. He desperately wants our approval, our praise, but by the end of the story, he only shows us how pathetic he is and how he is not living to the standards of a god. For me, for example, if I was a god and if I had Homelander's powers, I would have definitely made the absolute choice to destroy the entire planet. Could I not have done that? Of course I could have. And then was there anyone else to stop me? Anyone else to kill me? For me to beg on my knees and to say, okay, I will suck your cock? Oh god, you know what? It is actually worse than I have imagined, but I looked how pathetic he was. I looked how pathetic he was at the end of the show, and at the end how he was just kneeling in front of the butcher, and he was just like, please don't kill me, please. But so guys, thank you so much again for watching today's video. It was such a blast to just complain about this show and the final that was really very much disappointing. But for me personally, I liked the entirety of the saga. I liked this series overall, and I liked how overall arcs were converged and how the characters were so compelling. I really did like him overall. And I think that Bully Butcher himself had a real good ending. If you want to dedicate a video to Bully Butcher, then let me know. I will of course make you the most fascinating, the most wonderful character studies and analysis of all time. And even if you want me to dive into more crazy sides of myself and my channel, then let me know. Then again, thank you so much for watching. Until the next time. See ya.
Did you fuck me?
What?
Is this some kind of incest thing?
No!